Hey, welcome to the show. I'm excited to have Clark Campbell, CEO of Social Lion, on with us today. Clark, welcome to the show.
Andre, it's good to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
This is going to be a lot of fun. So I hope what we're going to do today is just kind of have some conversations about social media and ministry, where those things collide, great things, bad things. We'll cover in a few different videos a lot of this, but why don't we start with just kind of getting to know you a little more.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about your story. How in the world did you end up being the CEO of Social Lion?
That's an amazing question and a very challenging story, but it's
Okay.
fun to unpack it a little bit. I studied music in school,
Okay.
in college, and I was in ministry. I did a lot of video work, so that's really the tie that pulls together social media. I was in a choir that traveled around the globe in college, and so I did a lot of leadership stuff and a lot of media things, and we traveled. Anyways, after college and in ministry, some tornadoes. It's not even. I'm smiling, but it's really not funny. And
Like
I'm
some tornadoes have really
just plowed through. 6 tornadoes came through our hometown in East
Wow.
Tennessee in one day.
Whoa.
6 tornadoes, and one of them came through our backyard, and so we had no power. And this was early in Twitter days, and Facebook had already been around. Instagram wasn't even a thing yet, and we couldn't stay at our house, and I had to stay at my sister's house. And I woke up the next morning, opened up my phone, and I saw on Twitter that there were 9 people dead in our county. One day, 300 homes were destroyed. And so I was scrolling through Twitter, and I saw someone else use a hashtag in a nearby city. And I was like, well, I'm going to use that hashtag in our city. And it was CLE help. Like, let's use hashtag CLE help if you know anybody that needs help. But it was 7:15 in the morning. I was literally rubbing my eyes. I was laying in bed. And within 15 to 30 minutes, I started getting texts and calls and people saying, hey, what did you find out? Where do I need to go? And I was like, uh-oh, I don't know.
You just became the coordinator.
Right.
of
I
all
was like
this.
asking, hey,
Right.
let's just use social media.
Right.
So this wasn't a strategy thing.
Right.
I wasn't using social media professionally much other than in ministry. And then before you know it, an hour later, I'm sitting on the front porch of my sister's house, and I'm texting people saying, hey, we got to go find some place to work because there's 20 or 30 people that are ready to show up and help people. And so we went to an organization in town, it's a national organization, and they actually asked us to sign up for a class. And I was like, we don't have time for that.
Right.
So we literally left that organization. They said, sign up for a class to start working next week. And we were like, no way.
Right.
This
We need
is
to
like,
work today.
we need to work now. So we left that organization. Will remain unnamed unless off camera. And then we went. We were driving around town looking. I mean, 6 tornadoes. You didn't have to go far to find a path.
Sure.
We got a message that said, go to this particular community. We pulled in there. Almost 80% of the homes were gone, and just families just standing there, just like picking up stuff. The sheriff's department was still there marking the doors for people to make sure no one had been in that home. And that afternoon, about 2 o'clock, we went back on social media and posted. We said, be here at 6 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon with shovels, grills, food, diapers, anything you want to bring, gloves, and show up. Long story short, we adopted that neighborhood, and 2 weeks later, it had grown so large we had to move out of the neighborhood to a nearby school. We had 2,000 volunteers. We registered with FEMA. Like, we had their names, emails, phone numbers, addresses, and we fed 8,000 meals to the surrounding communities. And it was not planned. It was literally an accident that connected with the power of social media.
Wow.
And then people started saying, hey, can you teach me how to use social media? That's really how it all happened. Crazy story.
That is crazy.
Yep.
So you both kind of got excited about it. You impromptu created this thing, and then I guess simultaneously realized, wow, this is super powerful.
Of social media.
Yeah.
And we had a Facebook group and we had a Twitter page, and every time we found a need, we would post it on the group and on the Twitter page. That sounds weird to say, but on Twitter.
Right.
And we had an airplane fly in from North Carolina. Like, they saw it. Someone shared it with their friend, and An airplane flew in with a load of supplies, and a tractor-trailer truck out of Ohio came down with a church had like filled a tractor-trailer truck, and it was all grassroots. Like, this wasn't like email campaigns were going out from organization A and B.
Yeah.
People just shared it, and we had like all day where cars were just pulling up. We'd post a need, and within 30 minutes to an hour, sometimes 5 minutes, a car would show up at that school, and it was unbelievable.
Wow.
Yep.
That's really cool.
It's crazy.
So somewhere through there, then you started a company
I did.
called Social Lion.
Yep.
And what does Social Lion do?
Well, that's an interesting question. We do two things. We do brands and events. So we do social media for brands and events. And the event thing really came out of what I learned from the tornadoes, what I learned from other large events and conferences, and that's really where our specialty is. We do a lot for brands. Brand amplification is one thing that we call it, and event amplification is another thing we call it.
What does that mean?
So you want to amplify. What are we doing today when it comes to social media? We're trying to get people's attention. And attention is at its max capacity. I mean, Anxiety is exploding, and it's a serious thing we're dealing with. But compelling messages will get people's attention, and you want them to come sit down and stay when they're scrolling their phone.
Sure.
Like we call it thumb-stoppable content. So
Thumb-stoppable.
Yeah.
Nice.
You remember that one.
Nice.
So how do we get someone to stop their thumb? Not just stop their thumb, but also stay and engage. Because once you get them to stop, engage your content, they are likely to amplify it through a like, through a comment, through a share. Same thing at an event. How do we get people to amplify the story of that event? Well, you do that through thumb-stoppable content.
So what's an example of like a brand and an event? Kind of help us understand what you mean a little more about.
Sure. So you mean like what do we do for brands?
Yeah, like inside a brand, like what would you be doing with them?
So we go in and we analyze all of their channels. Essentially, every channel on social media has a different voice. So Instagram may lean mothers and millennials and 35-year-old men, but it kind of stops there. And Twitter might be 35 to 60-year-old men. And so we have to analyze a brand's audiences, understand their voice, who they are, what they're attracted to, what they like.
Right.
And then you help that brand figure out what kind of messaging goes on Instagram, what kind of messaging goes on Twitter. How do you listen carefully on Facebook versus Twitter? Is it all day long or is it once a day? So we analyze the audience and the voice of each brand or organization or ministry, and then you have to develop a strategy to push out content. So you have to analyze, you have to listen, you have to be committed to learning. That's a huge, important piece. You have to be a learner when it comes to social media, and it's scary, it's hard. Like nobody has it figured out. Yeah. I don't, and you don't.
No, it's all because it just changed.
It changed,
and it changes again
changed
tomorrow.
Last night.
And yeah. It's just going to constantly change. So we're all in it together.
We are.
I think there are some practices that we're starting to settle in. It's so funny though to watch through Time Hop or Facebook where it'll kind of show me things that I've done in the past. And man, when I first started using Twitter, it's like, what was I doing? I have no idea what I was doing.
Same thing.
And it's like, oh, that's so dumb. But I've left it because I think it's hilarious now to read it. But it's like, man, that is.
I go through that daily almost. I'm like, why did I say that? Or why did I ask people to comment that way? Or,
yeah. Because we're all kind of settling into an understanding of how to have the conversation online. So give us some examples of like Instagram stories.
We go to conferences and events a lot in the Christian ministry space, and we use DSLRs and editing in real time to turn these Instagram stories around for the brand on their phone, on their mobile device, so that the brand can amplify their story at their event on the platform that most of their attendees are actually consuming social media content on. Instagram stories right now, at the time of this video, is a really great place to tell stories about events. And you don't have to do it with a DSLR and edit and put it on. It's very challenging. It takes a lot of time or a lot of know-how to quickly shoot, quickly edit, and then post to the channel. You could just use your phone with Instagram stories and get up and do that and write all over your thing. But Instagram stories right now is a really, really effective way of amplifying your story at your event.
Right. And so when you guys are doing that, just a technical nerdy question, are you filming that with a camera like this, or are you flipping it and actually videoing it sideways?
Yeah, this is 301 level.
Oh, okay.
This is a good question. So we do whatever the client or the organization or the ministry needs. So if they want that B-roll afterwards, we might shoot landscape or 16:9 and then shoot so that we know that it's going to be used on a mobile, it's going to be experienced on a mobile device, so that we can give them the B-roll afterwards. If they have another video crew or we're shooting landscape 16:9, we turn our cameras this way, the DSLRs, to capture video this way.
Yeah,
and we
that's
edit
awesome.
in Premiere, and it's challenging. Sometimes our editors are doing this. But here's the deal. Can I bring up a quick point?
Sure.
So people are consuming a overwhelming majority of their content, video or not, on this
Aspect,
this
orientation.
This orientation. How many people do you know that walk around like this? It's not common to walk around like this. Most people are consuming it this way. So videographers can't stand this because they want to shoot 16 by 9 landscape. So when we have to say, no, we're going to shoot portrait, it's a challenge. And once you recognize that people actually consume most of their media this way, it makes sense to go, even me, I argued this for with our video guys that were trying to convince me to go 16 by or portrait.
Right.
I was like, no, we have to shoot it this way.
Right.
And then I got to understanding how important it is to change the aspect. And it was a big deal.
Yeah, the orientation of it. And I think what's interesting is I always joke with my family, like, no, don't record it that way for our memories. Because I'm like, that's not, because we are going to watch it on a TV. Down the road, because this is like the video, so I always am joking about that. But when it comes to an Instagram story or something like that, it's how is your audience, where are they, and what are they doing, and how are they holding it? All of that matters.
You have to think about
and Instagram stories specifically, or maybe Snapchat as well, it's definitely vertical.
And even Facebook stories now.
And now Facebook stories.
And especially if you have ministries that are operating overseas, Facebook stories may be more used outside of the United States than it is here.
Yeah.
Because we use Instagram stories in the United States for the most part.
Right.
But countries that don't have Instagram, they're using Facebook stories.
Yeah, of course.
And so you have to remember that. Don't ignore or put Facebook stories to the side, especially if you're thinking of a global audience.
Sure, totally. Oh man, there's so many tactical things I want to start getting into. But to kind of just wrap up this orientation, I guess, video of this, help us kind of, as we walk away from this part, how do we look at social media? Give us just some general understandings. You said a few things like know where your audience is, know how they're doing things. What are just some basic things that we can leave people with on this video to help them a little better understand where your sweet spot is, what you've noticed when you're working with ministries, and how things they could do that are just small tips, that could help them make a big difference?
I love this conversation because so many people are still here because it changes so often that just give me the basics. Like what are the new basics this month?
Right.
What are the new basics next month? I would say the most important thing you can do, no matter what changes happen on social media, is listen.
Okay.
I'm literally wanting to pause there because just listen. So often we want to just pump out content, take a picture and post it online, get my announcements and put them online, put them on social media, get content. Social, it's just, that's not the way we operate as humans. So why should we convert? Why should we put that on social media when, take this interaction right here. If all I did was talk the entire time, which I'm talking a lot, I understand that.
Yeah.
Then the audience is going to get bored. They want to hear you. They want to be you want to be heard. I want to be heard.
Right.
Social media is a dynamic conversation. So because we are naturally going to post a lot of content, you have to almost unnaturally pull yourself back and just listen. And what I mean by listening on social media is actually scrolling and not posting as a brand, as a church, as a ministry, and seeing what other conversations are happening with your followers, with your fans, with your family, people you love. Engage with them, like their posts, comment on their posts, start conversations, whether it's you personally or your ministry. Just stop being obsessed with getting more info out there. There are too many ministries today, even ones that we work with, they are posting 5, 6, 7 times a day. Pull it back to 0 or 1 and do a lot more commenting on people's conversations that they've started.
So in real life, outside of social media, I had this person contact me recently, and I was pretty excited to hear from them because I hadn't heard from them in a long time. And I was like, oh, this is exciting. I wonder, but it was almost immediately, it was like one question, and then it was into what they needed from me.
Right.
And it just felt so deflating.
Sure.
Because I thought we're going to build relationship and interact.
Yeah.
And instead it was taking.
Yep.
and without any giving.
Yeah.
And it just felt depleting,
Sure.
and
True.
it just felt bad.
And that happens online too.
And
all the time.
Sure, if you think about that online, the brand is constantly telling,
Yep.
and asking for something, but rarely giving something.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
We recommend with every single client we work with that 70% of the content you do on social media should be giving, not asking.
70.
Yeah. So we do 70, 20, 10. So 70% of what you put out there should be giving, commenting, enjoying relationships with your friends and family. 20% you could promote yourself or something you're doing. Not like, hey, look at me, but share about the event you just did.
Right.
And then 10% would be asking for volunteers, for donations, for time, for energy. Because if all you're doing is asking, people are just going to back away.
Yeah.
Like you just explained. Like
Right.
you was deflating.
Yeah.
All they wanted was to ask you a question.
Right. They wanted to take
Right.
and not give.
Yeah.
70% give.
70 give, 20 promote, and 10 ask.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
The 70-20-10
70 principle. Yeah.
principle.
Yeah.
If it's a principle,
then
then
that's the end of the
changes
story.
everything.
Right.
That changes everything. Well, I hope this episode's been useful. I hope you've gotten some good stuff out of this. Check out some more as we're going to continue to unpack these in the coming weeks. So thanks for joining us. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Make sure and like and subscribe to our channel. Click that bell so that you'll be notified every time we have a new video coming out. And I wanted to make you aware that we have some incredibly awesome resources totally free for you, whether you are or are not an Echo customer. Just go to echoglobal.org/resources and you can look at all of them totally free. echoglobal.org/resources. Like seriously, like now is a great time to go echoglobal.org/resources.